I mean, just the name itself brings up these incredible images, right? A vast, frozen, mysterious world at the very bottom of our planet. It's a place that just completely captures our imagination. On one hand, it's a frontier for some of the most important science happening today. But on the other, it's a total magnet for mystery. So, okay, let's dive right in. What is really going on down there? It feels like for every single official scientific discovery that gets published, there are a dozen other whispered rumors, stories about something else, something hidden deep beneath all that ice. And that question, that's what drives so many of the theories. And frankly, it's why the continent is so incredibly fascinating. And this comment from a Reddit user just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sums up the central puzzle, doesn't it? We live in a world where countries are constantly fighting over land and resources. Yet, somehow, all the most powerful nations on Earth just looked at an entire continent and agreed, nope, nobody touches it. It just doesn't quite add up, and that paradox has fueled speculation for decades. Well, the official answer to that big question lies in what is honestly one of the most amazing diplomatic achievements of the 20th century. It's called the Antarctic Treaty System, and you can think of it as basically the official rulebook for an entire continent. But look, this treaty didn't just appear out of thin air. You have to remember what the world was like back then. This is post-World War II, the Cold War is heating up, and tensions were sky high. The US was sending huge military expeditions down there, like Operation High Jump. You even had moments where Argentine and British forces were firing warning shots at each other. Things were getting dicey. And then something pretty amazing happened. It was called the International Geophysical Year. And for this brief period, scientists from 12 competing nations, some of them mortal enemies, actually worked together. That spirit of cooperation was so powerful that it directly led to them all sitting down and signing the treaty in 1959. So, what is this treaty system? Well, essentially, it's a whole bunch of agreements that basically says Antarctica is for two things: science and peace. It belongs to no one country. And get this, it was the very first arms control agreement of the entire Cold War. I mean, just think about that for a second. At the peak of global tension, the world's superpowers agreed that this one place was more important for science than it was for conflict. Pretty wild. The core rules themselves are simple, but they're incredibly profound. Number one, peaceful purposes only. Period. Number two, freedom of science for everybody, and you have to cooperate. All those old fights about who owned which piece of ice, they're literally frozen. No new claims allowed. And crucially, no military bases, no weapons testing, and absolutely no nukes. It effectively turned an entire continent into a giant, demilitarized science park. Okay, so that's the official diplomatic story. But running right alongside it, there's another narrative, a much, much stranger one. This is the stuff of internet folklore, the legends people whisper about. What else might be under all that ice? And this entry right here is a classic. It comes from what's famously known as the Secret Diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Now, we have to be really clear. Its authenticity is, well, it's pretty much non-existent. His own grandson called it fiction. But that almost doesn't matter because it's become this foundational text for so many of these Antarctic conspiracies, painting this incredible picture of a hidden world with ancient animals and advanced Nazi-linked flying saucers. And Byrd's supposed diary? Oh, that is just the tip of the iceberg. No pun intended. The legends that have spun out from this are vast. You've got theories about an entrance to a hollow Earth. A really big one is the idea of a secret Nazi base, an impenetrable fortress called New Schwabia. Then you've got the idea of a lost city, like Atlantis, perfectly preserved under the ice. And of course, you can't have a good conspiracy without aliens, right? Stories of tall white beings using Antarctica as their hidden base to watch over humanity. To really see how these two realities, the official history and the conspiracy theories, just completely collide, we can zoom in on one single historical event, Operation High Jump. So look at this. On one side, you have the official story. Operation High Jump was a massive Navy mission to train guys and test equipment in the most extreme cold on Earth. Makes sense. But the conspiracy version tells a totally different tale. It says this wasn't training, it was a secret war against a hidden Nazi base that was maybe protected by aliens. The official record says it was a success. They mapped huge areas of the coast. The conspiracy says it was a total failure, a humiliating defeat where the US fleet was decimated by flying saucers with superior technology. I mean, these are two completely different realities describing the exact same event. All right, after diving into those wild theories, let's take a deep breath and come back for a dose of cold, hard reality. Because the real answer to why Antarctica is so restricted might be a little less about aliens and a lot more about these simple, brutal facts of the continent itself. Let's just start with this number: negative 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not the record low, that's an average winter temperature in the interior. The coldest temperature ever recorded on Earth was right here, a mind numbing minus 128.6 degrees. It is, quite simply, one of the most hostile environments to human life on the entire planet. And this other Reddit comment really just grounds the whole conversation in pure pragmatism. Why aren't we mining it? Because it is unbelievably, astronomically expensive and dangerous. It's just way, way cheaper and safer to get what we need from pretty much anywhere else. So the real restrictions, they're not really about hiding anything. They're about pure survival. The place is an inhospitable wasteland, and it's a complete logistical nightmare. The rules are there for safety, to keep unprepared people from needing to be rescued, which would pull vital resources away from the actual science being done there. And of course, there's the big one: protecting an incredibly fragile and unique environment, just like the treaty says. So, what we have are these parallel stories: the official one about peace and science, the unofficial one full of high strangeness, and the practical reality of a deadly, frozen desert. But the story of Antarctica isn't over, not by a long shot, because its future is far from certain. And here's the crucial detail, the real kicker: the treaty that protects the continent, the one that bans mining, it's not set in stone forever. In the year 2048, any of the major countries involved can call for a full review of the whole agreement. And you have to wonder, as resources get more scarce around the globe and our technology gets better, how intense is that pressure going to be to finally open it up? And that leaves us with this final crucial question. For more than 60 years, Antarctica has been this amazing symbol of peace and cooperation. But when we get to 2048, in a world facing all sorts of new pressures, is that spirit going to hold? Or will the continent of ice finally become the world's next great battleground? That's a question whose answer has not yet been written.